All right, so for this tutorial, we're just gonna make it pretty different from normally what we used to do, right? So as you can see, we have these creatures or these abstract animals. So how do we do this, or how do I come about this, right? So mostly we normally start off with abstract stuff, right? Because we normally will design from our imagination. Basically, that is design, because when you're designing, you design what you don't know, right? So you start off by, mostly how I start off, I'll just start off by drawing these abstract lines like this, right? So from this, then I would create, or an image would emerge itself from this art, from this scribbles, right? So like as you can see, anybody who's seeing this would have a different interpretation for this scribbles. So for instance, this, what I see here, like this looks like an eye, this like a wings, right? Here like having a backbone, and this is the skull of this creature, right? So I'm just gonna start off with that. First of all, I like to double down on the eyes, make it very obvious. And let's say this is the beak. Yeah, so as you can see, we have this eye instead of with the eye, and we have this thing coming down as its beak, right? Yeah, it's pretty obvious, I think. So I'm gonna have this. Now there's something that I need to make a decision right now. Is it that the head is gonna look like this, or I'm gonna make the beak come in this direction, or I'd have to follow this one, right? I think I would go with this one, right? So I'm gonna follow through like this, and I'm gonna make it like this, right? So it's gonna come out like this, and this is gonna appear to be more like a comb. You know, the chicken has a comb on his head, so it's gonna have something like that. So after I have that, and the head is pretty well defined like this, I'm just gonna add more details to that, right? I'm gonna come here and add a line to this here, because I see this as wings, and this is the wings. He's in flight mode, right? I see this as a wings, and this the head, right? So I'm gonna expand on that. I'm gonna have this coming like that, and I'm gonna have this coming like this. Alright, so far so good. I'm gonna keep working here. I have this to be the other parts of the wings. The other part of the wings to be like this, right? Then these things is gonna be its tail, or whatever later on I decide on. I'm gonna shade this part a little bit before I add the values, right? So I just shade, and beneath it I'm gonna add a lot more shadow to give it more depth to it. And here I'll add another line here to emphasize on this beak. Okay, so we can continue, and I paused the video for a moment to get something done, and I'm back. So I'm gonna add a little bit of detail under his chin here, and we added the nostrils, the eyes, you know, do a little bit of shading. So we'll have I'll add some details here, and I added a little bit of what do you call this, the spine, a little more detail here on the spine, right? We're gonna shade them like this. We already shaded after the line, and shading also really plays a role on how realism this will become, right? So I have this down. Right, now you're starting to see the bird. But I realized that as I develop it, I'm starting to see something else. Like, you realize that this part could also be an eye, and here could be his head. Right, if I close this, if I turn this off, you have this thing, and this to be his teeth, right? Can you see what I'm saying? So there's no end to this then. The possibilities that you can come out from this is endless, right? So I'm just gonna shade it as well, right? And here, give it a little bit of detail. And again, anybody watching this would have a different interpretation to this. So if I didn't do it like how you see it, it's okay. Forgive me. So continuing, this is like the second time I've paused this, third or second time I've paused this this recording. The noise was getting too much, so I just had to pause it and wait for the noise to come down a bit. But anyways, so right now we are torn between this head to the left here and the head to the right here, right? But it's not a problem. It could be a feature of the creature we're trying to create, right? So I'll just leave it as it is now and keep working on it as it evolves. So I would see this line here. I'm just going to darken it so it becomes more like the neck of this, and I'll add a little bit of sketch here to emphasize more like the throat of the creature, right? Then I'll sketch it a little bit. I'll shade it, not sketch, sorry. So then I'll come in here, add a little bit of details here. Right. These are just stones, yeah. Just some patterns to help with the skin. So now I have a head here, and I have the mouth, and I can do some some extra detailing here for the gums, right? So this is the mouth. He opens the mouth, right? And the lower jaw here, and here goes this, and here, right? So we have this, and this part is gonna be part. So I can go, I can add this line here for it to be the extension of the head, sorry, the neck. Sketch it like this. And I'm gonna just take my time and shade it probably, because you know it's the shade that is gonna make make this abstract art, right? And we have these scribble lines here. We're not gonna forget about it. We're gonna use it, all right? So nothing is gonna go waste here. We're gonna use everything we have to make something, to make it worth it. And here we have this line here, and we have this, right? We add this thing into it, right? Right. So we have this now. Add more details here for the neck. Shade it a little bit more, because if you look at the proportion, we consider the size of the head here, right? And with that, for the neck, anything that if you make a small neck, it's not going to really sell or look believable, because looking at the size of the head, right? Looking at the size of the head, you need to have a proportion which is relative to the head, right? And you use that for the neck, right? So first we had this and this. Now I'm just adding a little bit of this to it, because of the proportion, right? So you keep that in mind, and so I'm just gonna give this W to make it feel more like the scale of this creature, right? So here I come in like that, and always remember you need to have a sharp pencil, right? If you have a dull pencil would equal to a dull drawing. You need to have a sharp pencil, which would equate to a sharp pencil. I'm sorry, a sharp drawing. You keep that in mind. All right, and you have this. We have this. I don't know what this is, but I cannot call it. I wanted to say we have this ugly creature, but ugly is not the right word. I think it's horrifying, right? And you take your time to add in the details of the tones and the scales. So we would say that this is more or less like a reptile, right? We're gonna call this one as in the family of the Godzilla, crocodiles, and yeah, you know what I mean, right? So we would call these things as such. And for the teeth, when it goes back, it gets smaller. When it comes up, we would want to track it in such a way that this one fits in this two, and any one that we would try to add in would fit this space, right? Although when it goes on, you wouldn't want to care too much about it, but you really have to keep it in this format so that it looks believable, relatable, any other word that you can think of, right? Shade it a little bit more. All right, so I'll give it this in, and here give this in, give this in, and give this in, give this in. All right, so at this stage it's just about adding in all them details that we decide to have it, right? And just keep adding in your skills. We add in the skills over and over and over, like so, right? But remember to do this before you add in the skills. You have to give it a little bit of value. And when I mean value, shading, right? The shading is important. The shading would have to lay in. You'd have to lay in the shade before you give in the details. If you do that, it will give it the word I'm looking for. It will give it some sort of base for it'll serve as a base for the texture that you're going to create. It wouldn't come off as so flat, because the values that you're giving it, the values need some basic you need some basic, whatchamacallit, it needs a foundation, right? It needs a foundation for it to rest upon it. So you'd have to just first of all give it that. All right, you give it that, then you build upon from there. I hope I'm making sense. Sorry, I lost myself when I was lying in it, because when I was trying to do the outline and the skills, you realize that the areas that are flexible, right? The areas that are flexible, the scales will be smaller, and the areas that are bigger, that they do not move so freely, those ones will be much wider, right? All right, so we'll add in this one here, and I'm gonna shade it. Now this one I'm shading, I'll be shading in underneath the lines here, right? To give it that rendering effect, right? So I will just go like this. have this sort of information. You add this information right before you shade, and when you're adding the values to it, it works easily. All right, I'm gonna zoom back a little bit so you can see how far we have come. All right, so it's gonna look like this, and these lines, I said we're not gonna waste anything, right? So we're gonna look at these lines and we're gonna see, I'm gonna make it, it feels like he's breathing fire, right? Or he's spitting some sort of fire, or I don't know, something's coming out from his mouth, right? Right, so we keep it like that. And so the whole point of this exercise is not for you to overthink it, because you don't know what you're going to create. So you don't overthink it, you relax and you do it, right? Just take your time and execute it. This is some of the, this is an exercise that I really like to do whenever I get creative block. I don't know if I'm saying the right thing, like, yeah, creative block, or when I hit a brick wall, when I'm creating, when I don't know what to draw, or like you draw the same style for over some time and you're starting to get fed up with it and you want to expand your creativity. All right, I'm gonna leave this one as white as this. Maybe those ones could be the guile or the fins, right? So I'll just leave it like this, and just not to shade it too much, right? I felt like these areas I might have over shaded it, so to grab my eraser and shade them off a little bit more, erase it. So I'm gonna come here, just add a little bit of depth to this thing. Right, so we have this, and I'll grab my pen and I'll see if I can polish some areas a little more to make it stand out. Right, so this is just an exercise that you would want to train yourself to do from time to time. And if you're able to do this exercise, you realize that whenever you take a pen to draw something, you never get short of ideas, because the ideas will just keep coming. Whenever you see a line, or when you're drawing and you make a mistake, you would know how to use the mistake for something else, right? And it's just a fun exercise. I do this exercise whenever I got lost in my thoughts, or probably when, let's say, when I'm on the train, when I'm on a taxi going somewhere. Like, you can do this whenever you want, you know. So add it to your creative journey, must do journals, or whatever you want to call it, and you build from there, right? We can keep developing this thing till thy kingdom come. So all right, So you add these in, and God, it starts looking so gorgeous. It reminds me of one of those creatures in the movie, right? And if I have to bet, I would say this is exactly how they create those creatures in those movies. Because sometimes you watch a movie and I ask myself, how on earth were they able to come up with this creature? Like, what kind of reference did they use? Or they use, I never get those answers. But now I can bet on that. I feel like I can give this thing some lower chin here. All right. All right. So keep creating, keep exercising. I'm gonna keep working on this thing for some time. All right. So yeah, like this. And I'm gonna shade this flames here. Right, give it a little bit of depth so it doesn't appear to be just lines. You know what I'm. Right. Right. So we have this. So you're just first gonna shade it roughly, and when you come in, you start to define the path. Like I said, you first give it values, then you work with the values. Right. This way, when you're working with it, you don't stress too much because you already have foundation laid down. Sort of so you have some sort of a compass or coordinates guiding you to the unknown land, right? So I'll just have it like this, and when you see it, it's looking pretty good. I should say. Now you have this, then I can have here like so, and I can add this to it. Then I can add in this and this. Can have this like that, right? Right, now it feels, now you understand what I'm saying, right? So it's more like that, and you keep developing it, right? I hope I didn't waste any lines here, and I was able to make good use of every line. Right, so yeah, that's I hope it's not too scary. All right, so yeah, that's about it for this video. I'm gonna make another video and I'm gonna create something different. So if you like this kind of abstract things, that leave me a message. All right, so that's it. That's all for this video. Practice this skill. It's really helpful. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. All right, peace out.